Hi everyone, it's Yvette Le Blowitz from SpiritGirl.com and welcome to the Spirit Girl Talk Show podcast. I'm super excited to be here with you today in this online audio space and with our very special guest, and his name is Andrew Capp. He holds one goal above all others through his various projects, genuine and sustainable impact. His latest offering is the last law of attraction book you'll ever need to read. And he offers readers a never before seen understanding of the topic that no other law of attraction book has ever been able to do. By going the extra mile, he's finally addressing why people who get excited about trying it still can't manage to get in the habit of using these methods for just 5 minutes a day. So this book is available on Amazon.com. It's getting rave reviews, and I'm super excited to share Andrew Capp with you. Andrew, welcome, and thank you for being part of the Spirit Girl podcast show today.
Thank you so much for having me, Yvette. I'm really excited to be here, and I'm really excited by where our conversation might go. So thanks for the warm welcome. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So Andrew, for all of our listeners tuning in globally, can you tell them a little bit about who you are, where you're based, and how the last law of attraction book you'll ever need to read unfolded?
For sure. You know, it's always been my my ever ongoing challenge to try to encapsulate this in a quick way. I mean, I will say I'm from New York. I'm an entrepreneur for 2 decades, and I think people that are business owners of their own and people that are into sales or things of that nature, they appreciate, like, when you have to kill your own dinner, so to speak. They gravitate towards personal development, positive thinking, all different modalities. So I mean, I learned about law of attraction maybe like 16 years ago. And when I first discovered it, I think, like a lot of people that can relate, I had my successes and failures. It wasn't consistent. It wasn't this magical, amazing thing. It was a thing where sometimes it kind of worked, and it seemed to have some kind of magic to it, or there's something to it. But I remember I went on a few years like trying and failing and nothing really happening. And then it came to a point around 12 years ago that I lost my business and a 3-year relationship all in the same week. Neither of which were obviously my decision. And it was pretty brutal how they both went down, but it got me to a point where I was almost stubborn and indignant. And I was like, listen, I'm unhappy right now. Things aren't working. Something needs to change. And I kind of got this attitude where it's like, I don't care how it happens, when it happens, or why it happens. This law of attraction thing kind of worked. I'm just going to go all in. And when I say all in, I don't mean I'm going to do like all day, every day and just beat it into the ground. I meant I'm committing every day to 5 or 10 minutes because I can consistently do that. I can deliver on that no matter what. And the results I got were astounding. Like within 2 weeks, I felt better, which is saying a lot when you have a broken heart. Within 3 months, I was in a better, brand new, way healthier relationship. Within 4 months, I'm making more money than any point in my life before then. And within 6 months, my life is completely different. I'm in the best shape of my life. I'm waking up happy and fulfilled. Like, it's a complete 180. And it taught me something there where it's like, oh my God, this works if you work it. And it doesn't matter how many people told me that. I was never going to believe it unless I went through it myself. And, to put a bow on this, I mean, I went years without thinking to even write a book like this, thinking to offer this, thinking I would even articulate this to people. But I was just inspired nearly a little over a year ago, actually, because this came out November 24th, to say, listen, I need to do something in business where I'm not going to get bored, where I'm going to enjoy replying to emails, enjoy creating content that I can really pour myself into. And so I challenged myself, like, if I'm going to enter this space, what can I do that would be different than anyone else? I know I will claim it's the last book they'll ever need to read. And since I'm claiming it, I'm going to actually try and back it up. And that kind of brings us to where we are today, almost a year since the book's release. And really grateful for all the feedback I get from people and all the positive reception of it.
Wow, that's an incredible story. So when you were making these changes, when you decided to go all in, so did you hear about the law of attraction just sort of like through the news and media, and then thought, what if this could work? And then decided, something needs to change. So did you change with your thoughts first, or did you change with your doing positive affirmations or doing gratitude? Like, what were the things in your life that you changed?
Right. Well, the main thing I did, well, it's funny because again, I'd heard about it probably in 2004, and I tried on and off, and it wasn't this thing where someone talked me into it. I mean, I learned about this before The Secret. I saw The Secret. I saw all these other things. And when, again, I had that really bad week and I decided something needed to change, I kind of had this this memory of like, well, every time I kind of start to do this, even though I always find myself quitting on it, which is an interesting thing that people fall into, it seems like it starts to work. And it's like even within a week of gratitude and things of that nature. So I did 3 types of techniques, if you want to call them that, predominantly. I did gratitude exercises. I did scripting, which is really just writing about your life as if it's your dream life right now, written in the present tense. And I did standard visualizations. But again, it was all centered around that. But these are things that you could have read in any book, or you could have seen in any video on YouTube, or you could have heard from any teacher. It wasn't the technique that was, I mean, I try to make my techniques a little more fun, but it wasn't the technique that was unique because you could find it anywhere. It is that click inside your mind that you make a decision that I'm just going to do this no matter what. And I don't even care about the result. I don't care about how long it takes. I don't care what's like, I am not going to see something not happen and get disappointed and quit. No, 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 no. Getting my heart broken and losing my business within like 3 days of one another, that's something I do not want to repeat. So I don't care where this goes. I'm just doing it every single day, knowing that I can handle 5 to 10 minutes of it no matter what.
Wow, that's incredible. So for someone out there that's going through a really difficult time with COVID-19, one of the things I've been suggesting, and I'm a big advocate and believer of this, is say out loud, or whether you write it, talk about what you want to happen, like best case scenario, what you really want to call in or what you want to attract, or instead of what you don't. So if you want your business to thrive and get through these challenging times, thrive, you know, like, but if you're thinking my business is, I'm going to lose my business, this is really bad, I'm going to lose my job, I've always believed then you'll attract a lot more fear, anxiety, and what you're manifesting that to some point. But I just feel that when I, even during COVID-19, switched from fear-based, I made a decision. I'm not going to go out in public and be in fear. I'm going to do everything in my power to wash my hands, to social distance, and I'm going to take control. I'm not going to live in fear. But I had to make that decision and the shift. Is that for someone who has never practiced changing their mindset or changing their thinking? There are some people who might be tuning in today, Andrew, and think, I just think negative all the time. It's like everything happens bad to me. Everything in my life, it doesn't go to plan. It's just the way it is. You know, my mum had this, my dad had this, like, it's just the way it is. What advice or help could you give that person who's out there thinking, I can't change anything, my vibrations are low, I feel down, I'm just, nothing's going my way?
Yeah. So anyone listening that's having those feelings or having those concerns, they have a gift that we all have, and it's called human nature. And the reason that I call it a gift is because for me, and this is why I always kind of see myself as taking this on in a different perspective, I'm all about the strategy, meaning, yeah, I'm going to tell you that you should go from thinking negative to thinking positive, but what can we strategically do? What conditions can we set up so that the success of that is inevitable and failure is impossible? And it comes down to human nature, meaning those people that are having difficulty getting out of that mindset, we want to introduce a technique or a way by which they can start to introduce it. They can spoon feed themselves. They can take the pressure off themselves that like they can get rid of the illusion that it has to be all or nothing. They can get rid of the illusion that if they have one negative thought, it's negating any of the positive ones that they're having. So it all comes down to choosing a law of attraction method or any mindset method that they can enjoy, meaning they look forward to. Because when you turn these things from a chore into a choice, then it becomes something that you get to do, not something you have to do. And then you create consistency. And again, someone that's feeling this way right now, I mean, I'm sure before we're done with this conversation, I can do it whenever we want. I can teach a method that, you can do it at any time of the day, and no matter how bad you're feeling, you are going to inject a level of good feelings into that moment. And it's something that you could repeat every single day for yourself.
Oh, wow. Let's do that technique now for our audience listening in. So do you want me to choose a scenario?
Sure.
Or you would like to choose a scenario?
Go for it if there's something off the top of your head.
Okay, so here's the thing. Okay, COVID-19, I have, my concern is I hear that if COVID-19 gets into the aged care homes, that people can die. I have a family member in aged care home, so it brings anxiety. And how can I shift in having faith that everything will be okay and there's no real point in me getting all anxious about what might not happen? So it may happen, it may not, but my mind and my body, because I have obviously my mum in aged care, so I've experienced this too, but I've spoken to a lot of other people where they just get so attached to the worst case scenario, so attached to the fear, so attached to the anxiety that they lose sight of the possibilities that this could all go really well and we might not have anything to fear.
Right. So this is for me a really wonderful moment and interesting opportunity, because the scenario that you just gave me helps me illustrate something else within the explanation. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you the method just the way it usually is, and then I'm going to modify it to suit what you're saying. And I'm glad that this came up, because I think people need to realize that any method that they learn can be modified specifically for their needs. So to first make the foundation of what this method is, I call it the time lapse, and it's a gratitude exercise. And what you're going to do is you're going to write down 15 things that you're grateful for. 5 of them are from your past, 5 of them are from your present, and 5 of them are things that you want in the future. And the trick is you're going to write all of them in the present tense as if they're all happening right now. And then what you're going to do is, and I'm so happy and grateful for this. I'm so happy and grateful for that. However you want to phrase it. Then you're going to take that list and you're going to jumble it up, meaning it was past, present, and future. And now the first thing is a past, and then there's a future, and then there's a present, then there's a future. Like, it's all mixed up. And you're going to read one piece on the list one at a time, and then take 20 to 60 seconds to feel gratitude. And here's the cool trick about this. 2/3 of that list is true. 2/3 of that list is something that's already has happened or is happening, meaning when you are feeling gratitude for 2/3 of that list, you are injecting a level of certainty and confidence. And if you believe in the law of attraction, positive vibration and momentum into the energy. And because, again, our gift is human nature and we can't downshift, you are tricking your vibration. You're tricking your subconscious mind. You're tricking everything. When you're reading the future things, you are carrying over the same level of confidence and certainty. So, the way I usually teach is like you're talking about money. Like, the future thing might be an even bigger raise, but you're already talking about the awesome jobs you got. When you're thinking about that raise, because 2/3 is true, you feel that level of certainty and confidence, and it just feels wonderful. Now, with that as a foundation, taking what you said, what I would do is I would replace the future items with basically comforting truths. In other words, I would say, I'm so happy and grateful that, my parent or whoever it might be has such a resilient immune system. I'm so happy and grateful that she has such wonderful care looking out for her. I'm so happy and grateful that the survival rate, the statistics on this, no matter the numbers, is so high. And you're dispersing that through the list. And again, 2/3 is true. You feel so wonderful when you're calling those other things as well. And all of a sudden you feel wonderful, as wonderful as you can in that moment about that situation. And you're contributing a much better vibration and energy for that person that you're worried about.
I love that, Andrew. That is incredible. So it'll be 15 things. It'll be 5 from the past, 5 now, and 5 in the future. And like you said, write down your gratitude, jumble them all around, and then we can put our own take on it, whatever our thing might be that we're trying to call in, or it's more about our vibration, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because I always believe we're all an energy. We vibrate, and our thoughts and our feelings and everything that starts from within is so important. So, Andrew, another question I've got, because you obviously are the guru here of law of attraction. Some people might say they grew up not having much money. So when they were maybe 5 years old, their mum was always stressed about money, or they never had enough money to pay for bills. Money was scarce. They learned that they never had enough money. So that innate belief still is carried with them. What would you say to someone who feels that they're at this level where they can't attract any more money, they can't make any more money, their relationship with money is terrible? Mm-hmm. They just feel that what they're getting right now is all they'll ever get.
So there's more than one way to go about this. So there's the direct way and the indirect way. The indirect way, believe it or not, is to not even focus on money, but focus on another part of your life. Focus on, and this is something, whether there's something else in your life that you want to improve or something that you have, because it all comes because like you said, it's all connected. You either feel good or you feel bad, which is another way of saying you're either inviting good things into your life or you're inviting the lack of those good things. So the indirect way is, if money is that much of a fixed, obstacle for you in your brain, to really almost give yourself permission to take a break from worrying about that and focus on other things. The more direct way is to remind yourself that literally like anything is possible. I think it's really interesting that people get into a car accident, they never expect the accident to come. And obviously that's a negative example. Like, they swing around a curve and then all of a sudden, boom, something happens. And then all of a sudden life is different. Who says that can't happen in the positive also? Who says that they can't come into a lot of money? Who says they can't be inspired by an idea for a book that's going to blow up and get a lot of sales? Who says they can't meet somebody who loves them and offers them a better job? And the whole point is, the fact that you don't know how you're going to do it is a gift. Because you don't know how you're going to do it, you don't have to worry about the how. You let the universe handle that. And I'm not going to say that you're not going to take action. You're going to take action, but you're going to take action in the moment when you're inspired to. Not out of fear and not out of lack, but out of inspiration, where you kind of nudge to go in a certain direction. So it's really what they want to do is they want to remind themselves that anything is possible. They want to look at other success stories where people were down on their luck and all of a sudden things changed. I mean, you think about The Rock. I don't know if, I'm sure there's a lot of fans of Dwayne Johnson out there. He had $7 to his name in 1995, and he was headlining Madison Square Garden in 1996. That's, one heck, and I'll use nice language. It's one heck of a quantum leap in only 1 year, to say nothing of all the success and fame that he got afterwards. Anything can happen for people. They just got to remember that it's possible. It could be as much of a surprise as a car accident. It can come out of the blue. They just got to be open to letting it happen and just remind themselves that things really do work out.
Oh, wow, that's incredible. Yes, we have a lot of rock fans out there, but you're right. There are so many stories of people who are successful now who once had hit rock bottom at their lowest point, and probably even people who surrounded them didn't think they would become who they are. But it all starts from within, isn't it? So we need to think about the possibilities. You talked about visualization earlier. Mm-hmm. I've listened to a lot of spiritual gurus or people in general who are entrepreneurs, and they're very big on visualizing the future or their future self, who they want to become or who they're becoming. So they're focusing on more visualizing, seeing themselves like in that nice suit or having that nice home, looking at the ocean. I obviously have done this myself by visualizing the Maldives, visualizing like looking at things, just calling it in, believing it, feeling it, and just visually seeing it in my face and seeing content. So that's a big part, isn't it? Visualization. But for someone, as an example, who wants to become healthy, mm-hmm. What kind of visualization technique could they use? Or you obviously have gone from being unhealthy to healthy. So how did you make that transition, and what are some tools that they could use to help do this?
Right. Well, it's interesting because visualization can contribute to that, but gratitude can just as easily. Like me, when I went to going from, just out of shape and really, miserable and depressed to being in the best shape of my life, I was working out with Sensei. Again, I wasn't sitting on a couch just visualizing. I was working out with Sensei, but I wasn't really doing it to like lose weight, so to speak. It was just because I was trying to change things and feel better about myself. I actually lost 25 pounds over a 7-week period in there without trying. I wasn't trying to do it. It just happened. So like regarding people, like just, from a physical perspective, if you can work out, you want to find a workout that you enjoy. But from the visualization perspective, like for health, you know, first of all, you can visualize white light coming into your body as you breathe in. And that white light is basically healing every single cell and almost programming every cell to return to its optimum level. Like you almost want to think it's like, when you pour soda and it's got like the bubbles and the sizzle, like you almost want to picture like white light, like bubbling and sizzling throughout your whole body and just like telling your cells, like return to the state of happiness that you've already accessed, the state of health you've already accessed that you already know. The thing is, if your body was healthy before, that means it knows what health is. So it doesn't have to like search for it or figure it out. It already knows. So a white light meditation or visualization is great, but also, you can also do, you can get creative and innovative. And again, human psychology and understand our minds work a certain way. I have one method where I call the 10 minutes ago method. And it's where you visualize yourself 10 minutes after receiving the good news, after getting the good blood pressure report from your doctor or the clean bill of health from your doctor. And the reason I say 10 minutes, because it could be 20, it could be 30. It's a time removed from that moment for people that don't know how to visualize the exact emotion. They're like, oh my God, I don't know what the exact emotion is, and therefore I'm messing this up. Good. We're going to put you 10 minutes into the future where your emotional set point could be anything. It could be still excited. It can be subdued. It doesn't matter. And since it doesn't matter, you don't have as much pressure over it. So again, there's so many different ways of doing this. As long as it's fun and vibrant and really engages you, that's the win. And as long as hopefully you look forward to it and you can do it on a regular basis, because it all comes down to consistency.
Wow, that's incredible. And you've obviously got more about this in your book.
Yes.
When it comes to the last law of attraction book you'll ever need to read. What about, this is a question that comes up all the time for our Spirit Girl community, or just in general. We've got women, girls, and even guys who will resonate with this. They feel that they always attract the wrong partner.
Mm-hmm.
I've listened to speakers in this area who have said you need to create a list of what you want in a partner, what you're looking for, and until you get clear on it, the universe can't respond. So what's your take on that? Or how can someone attract the person they're looking for? Do we have to have it clear first in order to attract it?
It's not required, but it helps. And, to say like, I'll go outside the realm of law of attraction really briefly, and I will make an assumption that could be wrong. But I think a lot of people are not with the right person because deep down they don't think they're worthy, even though they are. They don't realize that they're actually worthy of, they're with a person who's impatient with them because they think that's all they can get. It seems too far out of reach for them to find somebody else. So for me, it comes down to you want to focus on the qualities of the person that you want, but you also want to simultaneously like give yourself a break and be judgment free and start to love and accept yourself, because it's almost like you're going at it from two sides and it's like a double team, a double attack on it. You're feeling better about yourself and you're visualizing or inviting those things that you want. And for relationships, I know some people don't like to write, their hand cramps up. You can type just as easily. But scripting, I think, is a wonderful way of doing this, because you can basically script a day in the life of your ideal day with your significant other. Like, today was the best day. Like, dear self from 2 years ago. Put yourself 2 years in the future, or 6 months in the future, whatever you want. Dear self from 2 years ago, you are going to love this person you're with right now. We wake up every morning and we make like these perfect pancakes and we have fruit and we sit out by the patio and we walk the dog. And like today in particular, we mixed it up like we always do. And we went to, XYZ sporting event. And, this person just, because I know that I love how he or she always wants to hold my hand because I'm a hand holder. You finally found that person. You finally found that person that loves to cuddle on the couch. We just did this watching a Marvel movie. Like you write a letter to your past self, like engaging and being really vivid about this. And don't even think about their face. And by the way, again, I'm going to go in extra levels here. If you have to think about their face, you're like, I can't picture the person next to me because I can't decide on their face. Okay, visualize a phone call with them. We had the best phone call today, and we were teasing each other and having a great time. And this person always knows how to make me laugh, and they always know when to call me. Like there's so many levels to doing this where it doesn't feel like a far reach. It just feels like a fun little imagination of what it might be.
That is such cool tips, because not many of us are scripting as such. We just might be always saying of what we don't want or what we're getting but we don't want. So we're focusing on the negative all the time and verbalizing what we don't want or what's wrong in someone, and not necessarily what is right in someone. Now, Andrew, when it comes to this whole law of attraction, some people might say, woo-woo, this is woo-woo, but it's becoming more and more mainstream, where entrepreneurs always talk about visualization, they're practicing gratitude, they're doing meditation, they're kind of thinking and creating what they want. I've heard someone say, you can only attract what you are. So in terms of if you want to experience love or kindness, you have to start first cultivating these values or things from within. What's your take on that?
Yeah, so I don't think you have to. I just think strategically it speeds it up. Like, and I really, I'm a huge proponent of the one thing you have to do is live your life without ever intentionally wanting to harm somebody else. But besides that, I don't recommend holding any fixed attachments of the way you're supposed to be. Yes, if you are kind to others, it will speed up the kindness to you. And if you're generous with others, it'll speed up the generosity. But I don't want people to feel like they have to do that. They can as a strategy, but it's not required for them to get generosity themselves. And you raise a really good point, by the way. There's some people that they might not be on board with this, or that might not click. It's airy-fairy, and I can respect that, by the way. And my favorite explanation to give to people in that case is I like to use the example of working out to get muscles, which, by the way, I know is a very oversimplified statement, but bear with me. I'm going to give you two explanations of how this works. Explanation number one of how this works is you work out, and when you go to sleep, the muscle fairy comes and gives you muscles. Poof, easy peasy, right? Explanation number two is when you're working out, you're putting so much stress on your muscles that they're actually getting micro tears in them. And your body heals itself in response by filling those tears with more muscle fiber. A little more scientific. Most people probably lean in that direction. My ultimate answer as to which one of those is true is it doesn't matter. What does matter is you lift weights, you get muscles. You put an X, you get Y. You do these law of attraction techniques, and whether you believe in the law of attraction or not, a result comes that you can't argue with. And it could be something that has nothing to do with law. I believe in it, but maybe it's not law of attraction. Maybe it's your subconscious mind. Maybe it's your reticular activating system. Maybe it's some scientific explanation. It doesn't matter. What matters is you do these things, you get this result out of it. And that matters above all else.
Well, I'm going to tell you, that was an incredible scenario, but I'm going to tell you this thing that happened in my meditation. And our listeners, I hope you may have experienced this, Andrew. I'm sure you have, or our listeners. But here's an example. I go to do a Dr. Joe Dispenza, who I'm sure you are aware of, his meditation, which is very much visualization of your future self, like thinking in the future, like not in the past. Like, what is it you want to call in? And then kind of asking for signs and things like that. So I had this great idea. I've got the book, It Starts With Me. I really need to start doing some TEDx talks. But first of all, I need to find out about TEDx, right? So then get a load of this. I go for my morning walk. I come down, no word of a lie. right here on the poll is in my community, TEDx coming up, and speakers contact us, and boom, there was the sign. Like crazy, it just boom, I thought it. And I did the meditation before I went for the walk. He just said, let arise, you know, what comes up. And I thought, you know what, I really want to get experience in public speaking. I want to do more public speaking, but I want to do it on a stage. Oh, TEDx, I need to look into that. And boom, there it was, the sign. I take a photo of the TEDx, so I've got all the details so I can contact, and that's only one example.
I love
like
that.
Synchronicity, serendipity is something that Dr. Joe Dispenza talks a lot about. And when you look for a sign, it was like a miracle. It was like, boom, it was so powerful that I was like, oh my God, I can really do this. I can really do this. I can really think about something, call it in, and then be open for the sign. And then it happened on several occasions with books and authors. Like, oh, I'd really like to read that book. So I did. I really like to interview that author. So it happened. It's just mind blowing. So have you had those moments also, Andrew?
Yeah, you know, it's funny, the way I put them in my book, I call these manifestational raindrops. And like the breakdowns, because everyone I think can relate to being like walking outside and it's kind of overcast and it looks like it might rain, but nothing's happening. And they feel like a slight tingle on their skin, but still they see nothing. Then they see like little droplets on their clothes, but nothing much. And then all of a sudden, like they can hear it. It's starting to hit the ground and then downpour. And the point of that example is the instant you felt the slightest tingle on your skin, the storm was actually inevitable. So like all these things, like when I'd say if someone finds a penny on the street, it's basically a raindrop telling them that they're going to be a millionaire. And the only thing that can keep them from that is what I call like the umbrella of resistance. Like the universe is going to rain abundance down on you no matter what. If you want to hold an umbrella and hide behind something and ignore it, that's one thing. But it's always going to be there for you, like the TED Talk sign or like anything else. It's always spoon feeding you these things that aren't only manifestations in and of themselves, but basically indicators of like, listen, you're doing the right thing. You're on the right track. Keep going with confidence and enthusiasm because you're doing awesome.
Yeah, I love that theory. So raindrops, because it is true. I was vacuuming. This is funny, but I was vacuuming even my lounge, and I must have been worried at some point. Oh, you know, am I going to lose my job due to COVID? Then I found like not a penny, of course, $1 coin. And I was like, no, I'm going to be fine with money. Look, here's a sign from the universe. Stop worrying. So I'm huge on signs to the point that when I'm at the shopping center and I'll just suddenly see something, and it could be a mantra or a word, and it just stands out, and it's like that sign. And I'll want to do like a little story at Spirit Girl to share that sign, because when we're really like using all of our senses and totally focused in the moment and in the present, there are so many signs, isn't there, Andrew?
Always. They're all around. And I think it becomes a thing. Everything is like, it's like a muscle. Your ability to even notice these things and affirm and acknowledge them, it's like a muscle that you have to work out. So when you first try to do this, it might be a little hard, or you might get a pleasant surprise. But either way, it's only a matter of time if you just stay open to that kind of thing. Because again, opportunities to appreciate yourself and appreciate the path and appreciate the things that are on the way for you are always there every single day, even in a COVID 2020 world where people are locked in. You know, there's always ways of doing this. There's always reminders. There's always positive news waiting somewhere for you to take and appreciate and use that as a springboard to invite more in for yourself.
Talking about that, you are based in America. We get so much news from your country that sometimes I feel that we're, I don't know, running an American news channel over here. But like so much goes on in your country to the point where people are so obsessed with politics and they're going to follow this person because of this. And someone's different to them, so maybe they don't like them. Like, it's chaotic over there at times is the best word to say. And people are so passionate about, this is my point. Raw. No, this is my point. No, you're wrong. You're right. You're wrong. You're right. And no one's really singing Kumbaya together and coming as one. We're all in this together. I haven't really seen that coming out of America yet. It's a lot of divide and division happening over there. But you have created really positive content throughout COVID-19. You are full of positivity, like there's opportunity still. You can create this healthy, happy life. You are in control. Like, it's not up to whoever runs the country to make you happy, to make you feel validated, to make you feel enough. Like, you're trying to empower people to love themselves, to empower themselves, to believe, regardless of identity or labels, you are enough. And I think that's really powerful. But can you tell the audience a little bit about how have you kept healthy and well during COVID-19? And how have you switched off from, I don't know how many channels you have in America when it comes to TV.
Right.
But from what I've seen when it comes to TV and when it comes to radio, I think you have more channels than we have people here. And I mean that in the funniest way. I mean that in a really funny Aussie way. But you know where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
Like, people have got so much happening, and that's not even with social media. But how did you stay positive? How did you stay focused on attracting still what you want and calling in who you are, what you want, your future self? And how did you stay healthy?
Right. So, well, first of all, I love hearing your perspective about like what it's like over there watching us here. I almost feel like over there, you guys, like, it's time for the latest horrible reality TV show. America's on the telly right now, and you click and check it out. So well, first to answer in terms of like the positive perspective, I mean, I'll be the first to say, like, I miss restaurants, I miss dating, I miss hanging out with my friends. But, when all this stuff went down, I wanted to take stock. I'm like, well, listen, I have my health. I can't complain. I have my, internal, emotional, and intellectual resources. I can't complain. And I have a new book that just launched, 3 months before this all went down. And this is a vehicle by which I can actually help. So I'm like, listen, if I'm going to be locked in, how do I strategically use this to my advantage? Now I have time. I'm locked in. Let me create content. Let me create out of this. And again, some people, it might feel harder for them to do that, but I think everyone in their own way, if they have any resources, just their health alone is a resource. Anything that they have, they could use to their advantage. And I think they should strategically. It's just a really important thing. And again, it's not like I don't miss restaurants less than anybody else. It's just like, well, what can I do constructively right now? And in terms of taking care of myself, that's a constructive thing that you have to do. So there's two pieces to the puzzle for me. There's, law of attraction and emotional, and there's, of course, physical. Physical, I'm eating the best I can, and I'm doing this thing called DDP yoga. And, it's free plug for Diamond Dow's page. It's ddpyoga.com. Just a really cool yoga routine that keeps you really good in shape, and it's just a fun thing to do. From an emotional and law of attraction perspective, I have a friend across the country, and we have like an agreement where every single day we send a recorded message to one another on our iPhones about stuff that we're grateful for. And it's really cool because there's a social pressure there. We're always more apt to let ourselves down than other people. I have to do this. I benefit out of it, but I have to do it. Otherwise, I'm letting my friend down. Same for him, for me. So every single day we engage in gratitude, whether it's 1 minute or 5 minutes, using like this whole thing, talking about what we're grateful for. And the cool thing is sometimes I send him it first. Sometimes he gets me first. And whoever gets the other person first, that's like content for us to comment on when we're talking about what we're grateful for. It's like, hey, Mike, I'm so grateful that cool thing happened at your job. Here's what I think about it. I'm so grateful for that win that you got or whatever. And it's just like a lot of fun to engage in that process. And again, I'm just using human nature to my advantage. What can I do to set up the conditions so that success on some level is inevitable?
That is incredible. And I love how you plugged the yoga you're doing again. And also, you've got this gratitude buddy. If I call it a gratitude buddy, but you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
he
Like
is.
someone where you're connecting your gratitude buddy. I love that idea because we could all do this. We could all get that one person in our life and have that person, because that's an incredible thing, isn't it? That must really motivate you and really keep you focused and accountable. And then, are you a big believer also surrounding yourself with like-minded people, or even people who are at that, in your role, maybe at that a couple of steps ahead of the game, or maybe they've been like, I don't know, they've been an author for 30, 40, 50 years. Like, are you big on surround yourself with people who are like-minded or share your values, or who can really encourage you, and also consuming content that sort of builds you up, makes you feel good?
Yeah, well, so I surround myself with positive people, but they're not always like-minded in the sense that, some are law of attraction and some are like entrepreneurial. Like, for example, I'm in a mastermind right now that I pay, I think $500 a month to be in. And when I took it on, it wasn't because I wanted to make money. It was because I wanted to surround myself with positive thinking entrepreneurs who are just going for it in their own different endeavors. They don't write books. They don't do anything, like they do their own separate thing, but we all exchange ideas and we all support each other. And it's basically, it's worth it. It's worth it to kind of find people like that. And you don't have to pay for them. Again, me and my friend, we don't pay each other, but whether you pay or not, it's just, I think it's really important. Again, my favorite word, strategic. It's very strategic to surround yourself with people that are going to inspire and motivate you and remind you, one, that you can do better, but also two, that you're doing great already.
I love that. One, that you're doing, they can help you do better, but one, that you're doing okay right now, like doing well now. That's amazing. We are living in times with social media where it's sort of like, I call it the biggest popularity contest, actually. I named Instagram the biggest popularity contest, and it was like, welcome, everybody. You've just entered the biggest popularity contest on Instagram. So, but I totally bowed out of that. Like, I did get caught up going from a writing base to connecting one-on-one. Then this whole shift come in with advertising and marketing. And I made a decision. I'm not going to hold up products that I don't believe in, that I don't use. I've got to stay aligned to who I am. I'm just going to share people like yourself, Andrew, and many others who can add value to people's lives, spas where you can feel good. So I went to the core. But there is still even a lot of competition where people may not want to talk to someone because they're in the line of business and that's their competitor. I'm really big on a believer. There's an abundance example. I always use this example of bathtubs. I use bathtubs as an example because I'm a spa travel blogger, where if you're taking a photo in a bathtub, say in Sweden, I'm taking a photo of a bathtub in the Maldives, you're taking a photo, Andrew, in your bathtub, promoting bathtubs in America. Like, either way, there's such an abundance of bathtubs. How could we ever imagined that if I was happy, that I'm taking away from your happiness, right, and I'm taking away from her happiness? So it's allowed me, though, to connect with so many people because I'm not coming from a place of lack, a place of feeling scared, or even a place of competition. I'm just coming from a place of like, this is social media. We're supposed to socialize. This was a tool supposedly created to socialize, but hashtag sell, or is it hashtag sex sells? But but getting to the core of it, it's become a tool that's there to sell. And I think we've all switched off from the selling part. And one thing I'm loving about COVID-19 is that books are in, Books can help reduce stress by 68%. They can just help you disconnect. If you're struggling with body image issues, I've read so much research now, Andrew, that looking at body image apps, as an example, Instagram or Snapchat, will increase if you're already struggling with your weight or mental health, will not be the best app for you. That's why I'm loving audio now, and podcasts and books and personal development space, because it really goes back to the core of aligning with your true self, educating yourself, learning, developing, growing, and being open. So what's your take on that, Andrew? Because I know you're big more on the book. You're big more on connecting with your community one-on-one. You're big on YouTube. Like, you want to add more value. So posting a photo of you modeling in a bathtub, Andrew, or, or with your, or with your book, you're not going down that modeling selling kind of way. You're going more to the educational way, which I think is fantastic. But can you share a little bit more about your YouTube channel and how we can stay connected with you and watch your YouTubes and things like that?
Yeah, for sure. Well, and by the way, I think Instagram can be good or bad depending on who you are and how you use it. And if you use it as an excuse to feel bad about yourself, it could be bad. If you just sign up to inspirational quotes and you're not looking at other photos trying to compete, it can be good. But yeah, I mean, I have an Insta with very few photos. I do go more towards the YouTube channel, and the channel is just Andrew Capp. And the whole goal of that is, you know, people don't want to pull out their wallet for the book. They still can consume this content. And I take a really weird approach in the sense I try to inject humor. I try to put in, like, you know, editing cuts of different pieces to kind of like make a point. Like, I'm trying to do a different kind of storytelling because I understand that, you know, podcast consumption is different than video consumption, is different than reading, is different than an audiobook. So I try to cater the channel to like the video viewer in mind. I try to make it fun. I try to make it interesting. And I try to not only teach stuff from the book, but also teach new things. Like, I come up with new methods after already having written the book. I'm like, well, I'm not going to keep these methods on the shelf. I'll just put them out on the YouTube channel instead. So it's a lot of fun. And so far the feedback's been very positive. So I can't complain at all.
Yeah, I've watched a couple of your YouTubes. They're super fun. I've read a lot of your reviews too on Amazon, and people just really thought that you made everyday life really relatable to the law of attraction. Like, it wasn't that woo-woo. It wasn't something a bit new age, spiritual, like weird. It was very relatable. That, and I mean, there's over 800 reviews there, and incredible. But is that something you just are sort of like, this is how I live my life? Mm-hmm. This is what I do, and this is how you could apply it to your life. Is that sort of how your whole journey has unfolded, by actually doing these things and then, wow, that worked. Okay, so here's the strategy. Try this and see how it goes for you. Is that how the whole book also unfolded? Like, for someone out there who wants to know, how did the book, like, did you get an idea, wow, I've got to write this book, and woke up at 3 a.m. in the morning and just started writing? Or how did the book come together? What was the sign for you?
Well, you know, it was one of those things where, like, first off, someone said it's like, how long did it take to write the book? Well, in the one sense, it took 16 years because I spent 16 years living my life, trying and failing, getting my epiphany and living off of that. But then again, when it came down to writing it, I spent about a month just, you know, putting together some ideas. And then it took 9.5 weeks to write the actual thing. And that was just, you know, working early until late. The whole goal of the book and the whole concept behind it was, I was inspired one day of like, you know, this is the topic that like motivates me. But am I going to be so presumptuous and ambitious as to try to make something that will hopefully be different? And for me, what the book means to me is it's a way by which that I hopefully articulate why I screwed up in the past, why I failed in the past, how I turned it around, and how hopefully anyone else can overcome those same obstacles, those same pieces of human nature that have been holding them back that they're not even aware of, and actually use this long enough, just long enough to get a result. Like, all I care is that this gives people enough, lets them give themselves permission long enough to play with the methods, long enough to get a result. And I said this to you before we even hit the record button. The book isn't going to teach people. The experience that they get is going to teach them. And that, for me, is really the motivation. And I'm sure there are authors out there that are probably like intrigued, like, you know, I'm thinking about writing a book. Like, how do I do it that's hopefully an effective way? And I don't know if I have the perfect answer, but I will say this. I didn't write the book so that I can feel smart or look smart. I wrote the book with the understanding that it's a journey and an experience for someone. I wrote the book that from page 1 to page 208, that's how far it goes, it's weaving them through like their journey, where the pieces are kind of like all clicking into place, and I'm building on earlier parts into later parts, so that it literally like almost climaxes like a song, like a really good song. Like, I'm a big fan of Live from like way back in the day. And if you ever hear Lightning Crashes, it's the coolest song, because like the first minute and a half, like nothing's really going on. It's just like building. But the final minute of that song is like, boom, like, oh my God. And that's a perspective of I took into this book. And if people are thinking like, how do I write a book? Try to make that book that experience for the reader. You want the reader to turn that last page and be like, oh my God, either I'm really excited because this was the best story, like fiction, or I'm really inspired because this is the best nonfiction, or I'm really motivated because now I get it, or something. You want a result coming from them that they're just pumped about some way and ready to go in some certain direction.
I love your words of wisdom and tips, because your readers are super pumped. And I've got your book and I'm in the process of going to read all of this book, but like, I didn't want to rush it. Like, it's such an incredible book and offering that you have. But I feel that this is one that you've got to really make time to read, just a little bit each day or a little bit each night, and then sort of just really appreciate it, be grateful for it. It's a gift. It's a gift. And I all believe we all have gifts. We've all lived, learnt the hard way, like you said, and learnt from it. And you've been able to really just take what you've learnt from your life, not going to plan, to then getting it back on track. And all of the things you do are working. And now you want to help other people, improve their life, get a better life, feel better, be more positive energy, radiate energy, because we're vibrational beings, aren't we, Andrew?
We are. And I'm not sure if we have time, but real quick, if I could.
Yes,
I don't know
we have time.
who's gonna buy my book. If they don't buy it, I want to give them this. I want them to have this. I want to give the reason why people try and fail. And basically the way I explain it, and I understand, by the way, these are not clinical terms, but I see that we have three minds. We have the conscious, and we have the subconscious, and we have the ego right in the middle. Now, the ego, as I view it, is way stronger than the conscious mind, but the subconscious is stronger than everything. And the thing about your ego is it only has one job, and that's to keep you alive. That's all it cares about. And that means right now, wherever you are in your life, with the money problems, the relationship problems, the job problems, or whatever else, all your ego knows is, hey, you're alive. It's not interested in your satisfaction, your fulfillment, or your comfort. All it cares about is like, well, hey, I know this person wants to be rich and famous, but how do I know that when they become famous, they won't get a stalker? I know this person wants to get money, but how do I know when this person gets money, family won't come out of the woodwork and try to take it away from them? Like, in other words, I see the conscious mind trying to make changes, but I, as the ego, I love this person. This is misguided, but I can't let them change because that might threaten our survival. And that's that, like that devil on your shoulder whispering in your ear, like, you don't have to work out today. Or that's that person saying, you're not going to do this perfect, then it's not going to work. Nothing works out for you. Whatever it has to do to keep you in place. And the really cool thing about the law of attraction techniques, whether my book or any other book, is there a way to bypass the ego to the subconscious mind and let that do the heavy lifting of not only reaching out to the universe and pulling it in, but also going on autopilot and helping you take actions that improve your life. It all comes down to that. So don't hate your ego because it loves you, but just understand it's misguided and it wants to stop you. And that's why you've stopped in the past. That's why you're doubting certain things. But once you realize that, now you're empowered to do something about it, which really just entails like doing methods that you really enjoy that do the heavy lifting for you.
I'm so glad you explained that about the ego, because I was actually going to ask you about the ego, because every spiritual person has a different take on the ego. Oh, it's a separate person. It's this, it's that, it's a thought, it's the ego mind. And I've heard that when you meditate, you can get beyond the ego mind, and then you can also visualize your new self. But when you're just going about your day, that the ego mind will try and control you. And you're right, it doesn't care whether you're happy, sad, or not. You're right, it's just trying to keep you as you are.
Yeah, just wants you to be alive, and right now, as you are, is alive. So it's so funny because it's intelligent enough to come up with these maybes as to why it won't work, but it's not intelligent enough to realize that, ironically, when you get more money, you're actually going to be safer. When you get that relationship you want, you're going to be happier and safer, because the happiness from the relationship will contribute to positive health. It just doesn't understand those pieces. Therefore, it's trying to keep you stuck in place. But the good news is, when you're aware of that, it can't keep you in place, even if it can make the road a little more bumpy for you.
Yeah, I love that. And you've got more about that in your book, haven't you? Like identifying ego thoughts, or because I read that ego is attached to things like fame, greed, competition. And when you're coming from that place, that's not your true loving source.
Right. And the tricky thing, by the way, is ego is such a loaded word. So it's very possible and even probable that the way I say ego, someone's using ego in a completely different way, which, by the way, creates confusion, which, by the way, is why people will read so many law of attraction books and they think they're getting the same message, but it's a mixed message because the different authors had different viewpoints. So it's really important, like whether you call it the ego or not, just understand that it's a part of your mind, a part of your psyche, a part of your being that is that's performing this specific function. Again, out of love and out of care, so don't hate it, but just recognize that. Use your recognition of it to your advantage.
Yeah, I often, my take on ego can be, whether it's be ego or pride, but the ego, when things aren't going good, the ego still wants to tell people things are going well. Instead of being truthful, because it's trying to, like you say, preserve that public persona, that image. So I've experienced this even myself. So the business, if something's not going well, how's it all going? Yeah, really well, thanks. And how are you? Really well, thanks. But I've learned the hard way that you're best off just being honest, being truthful to your soul, aligned, and just speaking your truth. How's it going? Even though people might say it's negative, it's the truth. Really shit, not that good. And then you open up. And then what I've found is, if you say, oh, like I need to find a doctor to the door, as an example. Oh, here's the number, so I find that when you open up and tell the truth of how you feel, now this is overcoming, I have found, the ego, call it the ego mind or the ego, because the ego doesn't want to tell people if things aren't like picture perfect, and I say this even on Instagram. You might look at a picture, it could be picture perfect, but unless someone is connected to their true heart and soul and speaking from truth, then it's really important that we speak from truth and try and overcome the ego. Because I've found that if you buy into the ego and the ego is just telling everyone everything's okay, you can't get the help you need, you can't get the support you need, and you're not open to receiving help or support, it can actually keep you away from the help that you might need. So would you agree, Andrew, are you a big taker on my example, COVID-19? I always say, okay, if you aren't coping, things aren't going your way, you're best off saying speaking your truth, telling people, because someone might be able to have some experience in that area. They might know someone who could help. But we're having to overcome the ego. Ego wants to go, you know what, my business looks like this. It's all pretty. Yeah, everything's going really well. But deep down, it's completely the opposite. Are you big on that? Should we align to how we honestly feel, but for reasons of trying to attract just some more support, help, not feeling like we're alone? And should we have more faith in the universe has our back? Everything will be fine. Like, there are so many, that's a really big open question there. But I've just learned that the ego will always want to tell people everything's good when it's not.
Right.
Maybe not always, but in my case, I've experienced that.
Well, so like I agree with you certainly about, expressing your true self. There is a trap built within that many people fall into unknowingly. And the trap is, so I'll put it this way. Let's say your sales aren't really good. Well, there's two ways of saying that. It's like, sales are miserable, or you can say, well, you know what? I'd like to get some more sales. I need help in sales. And you lean another direction because it's less of putting weight on yourself, but you're still being authentic. You're still describing what you need, because you're right. Talking about like the whole Instagram thing, we're in a world of illusions. And I remember seeing a funny YouTube video where the YouTube video start with this picture perfect couple. They're so happy. Like the makeup is perfect, like everything's perfect. And then they show like the filming of it, like what it took to get the shot. And it's like a husband and wife just like arguing with each other and making fun of the way they're dressed. And like, you're screwing this up. My friends aren't going to like me anymore. All to get that photo that people will only see that part of it. But yeah, like it really is a thing where, I'm a big, I know I was talking about scripting before, but there's another piece that's spoken scripting. Meaning you don't have to write something down in order to be engaging in scripting, in order to be accessing the universe. Because you were asking me, like, is the universe there for you? And it is, but you can strategically engage it to be even more so. So again, when you go to the thing of like, when you're describing what's wrong, I'd recommend, being truthful, but leaning in a positive direction just because you're inviting something better. Like, listen, I'm not happy with my sales right now. I'd really like some help. I'm open to it. I'm open to the universe helping me. I'm open to friends helping me. I'm on board. Let's have it, because it's not what I want right now, but I'm open for it. So I would kind of take like an even keel approach of being authentic, but also being strategic to invite a better result.
I love that. Be authentic, but strategic to get that better result. So we're going to say, I'm on board. Yeah. And basically be open, be on board. So we don't need to control the outcome or try and work out how this is all going to come really well. We just got to be open to receive, open for support, open and be on board. I love that.
And thank you, because I've never said this before. You just inspired me to say this. It's not about controlling the outcome. It's about inviting an outcome. An outcome that could have been better than you ever could have imagined, or just as good. Don't control it, invite it, be open to how and when it comes, and be prepared to be shocked as to how much better it might actually be when you're not trying to force the issue.
I love this. Invite it, don't control it. I love that. We're going to be inviting. I really love that, Andrew. That's incredible, a takeaway there. Now, I could talk to you forever about the last law of attraction book you'll ever need to read, and just even about the law of attraction. But I want to ask you something, because before we say goodbye to everyone, I'm curious. Your spiritual practices, do you then meditate? Are you big on affirmations? Are you big on journaling? Reading yourself? When it comes to your sort of spirituality, what does that look like? Are you deepening this? Are you diving more into this?
Right. So I kind of take my own medicine in the sense that I do stuff for my book. I do gratitude exercises, I do scripting, I do visualization, but I also take my own medicine in the sense that I kind of weave and bob through different routines. So I might do scripting for a month, and then I might not do scripting for another year. But in that year between, I'm doing the daily gratitude with my friend. Like there's always something going on every single day. Some days might be more than others, but my own personal philosophy is as long as you're doing 5 minutes a day, you're good. You want to add on top of that, beautiful, but 5 minutes is more than enough. So I always make sure that there's 5 minutes of something. These days, for the past, I don't know, like, I mean, I've been doing this thing with my friend for the past 3 years, but in terms of like my life as a whole, for the past month and a half, it's really just been that daily message. But I just found some papers today, that like pads I haven't used. And I told myself, you know what, probably next week I'm going to start scripting again because I have all these unused pads. They found me for a reason. Let me go with that momentum and just like follow the thread.
Yeah, follow the thread. I'm big on following the thread. Like things will just land in my hands, or I'll see them, or I'll re-notice them, and then that'll sort of flow. That'll kind of like, wow, like, yes. So as an example, Andrew, I was in Target. I found a book, 365, one page. I'm like, whoa, okay, sign, do a mantra, positive affirmation on each page, 365. So I'm really big on always looking for signs and looking for things. And I love your book sign behind you, mind you. That's really incredible. What do your family think about the law of attraction or what you do? Are they open to this? Like they've obviously seen your life transform. Mm-hmm. However, I've spoken to some other authors or people and they go and do something a little bit, maybe they've seen a left wing or right wing. And then some families are like, oh, you know, like even when I started meditating, people thought, what is she? She's not a Buddhist monk. She is like, what is she meditating for? She's not from India. Or, you know, they were, people all have their different take on who should meditate. And, oh, meditation is for religious reasons. And I'm like, no, I'm just meditating for my health, just to clear my mind, connect to my heart and soul. It's nothing to do with religion. So I'm a big believer that the universe lives within us, surrounds us. Because I live in Australia and I was raised with spiritual beliefs that we come from the earth, we return to the earth, but we are connected as one in the universe with everything surrounding. So I can go for a walk in the mountains and feel connected to the trees, the sky, the ocean, the birds, the earth, the rock, and get a lot of energy from that and positivity energy. What are your family like when it comes to law of attraction? Are they trying to do it? Are they like, it's woo-woo? What are their thoughts on it? I've got to ask you this. We've got to have some real talk.
Yeah. Well, so some are on board, some aren't. Some have tried and failed and let it go. Like basically it kind of runs the gamut. And like my perspective is like anyone that, whether family or not, if they want to engage in this process with me, I am there for them, but I'm not going to force it. And I guarantee you, because I'm so strong-willed, no one's going to talk me out of doing this. So if there's support, but if there wasn't, I would be doing the exact same thing, having this exact same conversation. And this goes from friends also. Like if there's any friends that don't support me, then at this point, they're doing it behind my back, because I've already let go of the types of people or friends that wouldn't have supported it a long time ago. Not because they don't support the book, but because they're just not on that wavelength with me anymore. So yeah.
I love, they're just great words of wisdom, because that's fantastic. I'm the same. Everyone knows I love meditation, yoga, spirituality books, or like being open to personal development books, motivational speakers, but they're just a bit like, oh, I couldn't sit for 5 minutes. I cannot convince them, and I'm not going to go out and preach to them. I'm just saying, hey, this is what I do. This is what I love. This is what fills my cup up. This is what fulfills me. So I'm doing it. And I just think that's really great words of wisdom and advice for anyone out there who maybe wants to start on even a spiritual practice, or even believing that they're an energy or that they emit energy. Because I've listened to the neuroscientists, Andrew, and they said that when they were doing scans, that it was 3 meters of positive energy when the brain and the heart is coherent. Actually, that's from Dr. Joe Dispenza. And they legit, these are scientists, and they have now proof. So, I mean, I'm getting goosebumps while I say that, but that's really powerful now that we are getting science behind this belief that we do vibrate, that we are an energy. So, Andrew, I could talk and talk and talk about all of this with you. I really love spending so much time with you. It's incredible that you've taken, your business and your relationship failing, and then looking at, you became so self-aware. So you looked at, how was I living my life and what got me that, and then changed it. And now through what you've learned and applied, you're now helping other people. So despite, law of attraction or whatever, these are proven things that you do, that you've applied, that have helped you transform the way you feel and your life. And I really feel it's a powerful time when we're going through a global pandemic and crisis, where we can get strategies.
Yes.
Strategies is what you've really driven home to me. This isn't airy fairy stuff. These are strategies. These are tools. And even when you started the show and we talked about the 15 things we're grateful for, the 5 in the past, the present, the future, that in itself can really help people. And we want to stay in touch with you, Andrew, after this Spirit Girl podcast. Where can we go to get more information on you, to stay connected? How can we keep the conversation and connect so we can keep developing this positive energy, this positive thinking, but not in a woo-woo way, in a practical way?
Right. Well, thanks so much for asking. Thanks so much for having me, by the way. I mean, people want to, they can go to lastlawofattractionbook.com, and that forwards to the US Amazon listing for the book in paperback and Kindle and Audible. So I'm not sure what it'll do for your side of the world, but obviously it's listed. The Last Law of Attraction book you'll ever need to read is on Amazon. But if they don't want to pull up their wallets, they just want free content, they could always go to my YouTube channel, which is just Andrew Capp with a K. And it's so funny, as you were saying this, another thing came to mind that I've never said to anybody before. But I think, especially when we're in a world where we're kind of like shut in right now, if you don't have anything better to do something for yourself. And that could mean reading my book. That could mean watching my YouTube thing, or that could mean anything else. That could mean listening to more of your podcast episodes. That could mean finding anything, any source that they're going to use to their advantage that's in service to them. Remember, again, if you're not hurting anybody else, there is nothing wrong with anything that you want. Don't let anyone tell you any different. And again, Yvette, thanks so much for having me here. Like, this has been such a fun conversation. I'm not sure how many of your guests tell you this, but I love your energy. It's so clear that you care about your audience. It's so clear that you were so intentional about the kind of content that you want to give them through the questions you ask. So I appreciate kind of seeing a master at their craft in action as they do this. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Andrew. That's very kind of you. I'm just so grateful to have you. And it's so, I got to share this story because I haven't actually shared this story. But you would not believe this. I was only thinking, like, leading up to Christmas, well, one, I want to share more books, because what better time to buy books, to read books? Hopefully, we've got more time for this. But the other thing was like, I really want to dive into energy, the more thought-based. What we think is what we attract, or what we think is what we become, or what we think is who we are. And what we think and how we feel is such an important to our health and wellness and our mental health. And then all of a sudden, boom, I got this invitation from your PR team. And I was like, this is perfect timing. No way in a million years. Like, it just landed in my inbox, and I read your book and reviews, and in the process of reading more and really diving into your content, and instantly just thought, wow, this can really help my Spirit Girl community. This can really help female, men, anyone from any age. And I was like, wow. So it really did happen. Like, I thought about it. Like, I was like, and the funniest thing was I was going to go even on Amazon and start going into these law of attraction books and spirituality books and try and really but I really wanted practical tools. I'm big on practicality. I'm very big on, don't tell me how to meditate, show me. So like even in my book, it starts with me. It says, okay, go to YouTube, type in meditation for stress. Boom. That's a technique or strategy, but I want to know how. And then I want to know why, but I want to know the how to. So I'm very big on having the guests on how can we apply this to our day-to-day life? How can we actually apply it to our day-to-day life? Like, because we can't all live in ashrams, like we can't all give up our day job to go to become a monk, which is very popular now, and that's beautiful. But how can we honestly just be that girl around the block, that kid, that guy, that underdog? This is for every underdog out there, I believe, this show, because how can the underdogs have a great mentality of making things happen, but then you can't fall into the victim. You got to break the victim cycle and go, okay. And that's where I felt you could come in and help those people who might have that poor luck story, like be repeating the victim. My husband left me. My husband cheated on me. Now I'm not worthy. Now I'm going to attract every guy that is a cheater, is a player. So I feel that I needed to have tools, because whilst I can change my mindset and go no and become bigger than my mind, like and David Goggins is really good at that too, where you have that, I don't feel like exercising, and it's like, we're doing it today. And then he'll even be on the like, get a thought that I don't want to do this today, because he hates running, right? But he'll be like, we're going to be here for a long time. And then about 2.5 hours later, he's still on that workout machine. So he's awesome. Yeah, he's unbelievable. So from the bottom of my heart, Andrew, thank you. Super, super grateful. I would love to have you on the show again at some point. That would be incredible. So if all of our Spirit Girl audience could kindly, if you have any questions, just reach out to Andrew direct. He would with open arms, Andrew, after speaking with you. You'd be so up for that chat. If any of you have your own podcast show, which I know some of you do that listen to my podcast show, reach out to Andrew. Book clubs, you have a special book club guest there. We'll also include you as part of our Spirit Girl book club. And I'll make sure I have a link to Amazon and all of those incredible things, so you can grab the book or a copy. I encourage you and recommend you to do that, so you can learn more, because we only scraped the surface today. Like in an hour and 17 minutes, this topic is so big, so vast, and it's going to take more than an hour to get doing this. But 5 minutes a day you recommended, Andrew, to start.
And if I may, really one final quick thing, because you were talking to the underdogs, the people that have a bad shake. This is going to sound a little wacky, but if you go with this, you will thank me. I want you to remember, not think, but remember that you're actually the star of your own movie. And this is the moment. It doesn't have to be this podcast, but is this week or this month. This is the moment where you are inspired to make a shift that leads to amazing things. You're the star of your own movie. I'm not kidding. Take that in with you as you carry into the next day and next week.
I love that. You're the star of your own movie. Take that with you into the next day, the next week, the next month, the next year. And I'm a big believer in this, Andrew, because funny you should say that. I'm so big on music. Music fuels, like when I'm driving my car, I'll have a very empowering music, and I can really tune into the energy and increase that vibrational. And I'm very much thinking, I am the star of my own movie. I'm creating my life. I've got to choose music that fills my heart, soul, connects, really rises me up. And I'm big on lyrics, big on music, and big on believing that we really are that star in our own life. And it is so true. And when we can believe in that and attract, everything you consume, the songs, the books, the content, it's either going to lift you up and raise your vibrations or bring you down.
Yes.
It's energy. So I'm really big on choosing that positive energy. So on that note, Andrew, love your work to bits. I love what you're doing to help other people. I believe that this year, 2020, is the year of the light workers, that there are so many genuine people like you, Andrew, who have the biggest heart and soul. You are here to serve on Mother Earth. You are serving other people. You want other people to feel good from within, other people to not be suffering. It's so important that we all work on trying to stop our own human suffering. And human suffering is coming from our own thoughts, feelings, emotions, and mind, and what we're thinking. So I feel that you can help now people when it comes to that. So on that note, we'll say goodbye to Andrew Capp. Thank you, Andrew. It's been a pleasure. Sincere gratitude. So Spirit Girl podcast listeners, I'm super grateful that you tuned into this week's show. I really hope from the bottom of my heart that you've learned something brand new, that you're really open to just discovering, learning, giving these little techniques and strategies that Andrew gave us and just giving it a go. And if you want to dive more in, I will leave all of the links so you can connect with Andrew direct and also grab a copy of his book. But until the next podcast show, I want you to believe that you are a star in your own show. And they're the words from Andrew Capp. I want you to basically not control the outcome you want, but to invite it, to be open to it. And I want you to believe that you do have the power to practice gratitude, and that if you write those 15 things down, that you already realize that you have so much to be thankful for in your own life. You've got this. The universe has your back, as well as Andrew Capp and myself at the Spirit Girl podcast show. Love you all to bits. Subscribe, leave a rating and review, and to tell someone you love too. Bye for now.